Cars that are equipped with front crash prevention systems have up to 15% fewer crashes with other vehicles than vehicles that don't, the same vehicles that don't have the systems. So they do make a difference. And one of the things that we'd like to see is more people choosing this equipment on their cars, because for the most part it's optional equipment, and we think it can help drivers be safe.
So George, what's the answer here? Should you only be allowed to listen to Pandora? The only thing you should do in your car?
Sounds like a good idea. No, I think as far as what people can listen to, I think there's, as long as there's not moving pictures, as long as you're not. I mean, every time I go to Tokyo and I get in a taxi and I watch my driver driving around the streets of Tokyo on the wrong side of the road, for one thing, but watching his favorite sitcom and laughing along with the sitcom, and I'm saying, if this guy hits something, it's not going to be my fault. It's going to be his fault because he's watching this stupid TV show. So as long as they're not doing that in the car, I think that's a great start right there for the U.S. driver. But distracted driving is going to be here forever until there's a completely autonomous driver, no drivers at all. So the best way that we can do it is to work as closely as we can with all the agencies, with NHTSA and with the auto manufacturers, with the audio suppliers, come up with solutions that are feasible, but and workable. But again, AM/FM. That's the holy grail. It can be when you push one button, you do it. Some of the manufacturers, speaking of the guidelines that you're talking about, some people are taking it to extreme. I've got a couple OEMs that are telling us now that we've come out with a lot of technology with satellite radio, internet radio. We can show you album art. And we've got some OEMs that are telling us they're going to show the album art for 6 seconds and then take it away because it might be a distraction. And so you've got different people looking at the guidelines a different way, but the bottom line is, if it's not easy to use, nobody's going to use it, and if it's not good, nobody's going to use it. So you've got to balance there. You've got to find balance between safety and usability that you got to work on.
Well, it's interesting. We started out in 1924 as the Radio Manufacturers Association, and one of the first issues we had to deal with was when radios were being put in cars, there was a controversy that it was distracting and they should be banned. And the same thing happened, I think, with windshield wipers as well, ironically. History hurts. I mean, and actually, I started out early in my career going from state legislator to state legislator to make sure that the laws that said a driver cannot look at a TV set should be changed so they can look at navigational devices. And obviously, there's people like me, without a navigational device, I am really lost, literally. So the technology has generally been good things. Please.
Yeah, so George mentioned the FM radio. I mean, the very first FM or AM radios that came out in cars didn't have presets, right? So that was distracting. You had to sit down there and look at your dial and try to get the radio tuned in. Eventually, the industry came up with a solution to that, right? Well, we gave you 6 presets that you could select your 6 favorite channels. So again, I think, industry, when presented with these challenges, can provide the right solutions. Is it immediate? Do these technologies make their way into the vehicles first, then the distraction is recognized, and then solutions come? Absolutely. I mean, right, that's the natural evolution of all of these technologies that have come into cars. Where are we right now? We're somewhere in the middle, right? These phones are coming into cars left and right. I mean, I worry every day when my 18-year-old daughter goes to get in the car with her cell phone. I know that she's reading texts, right? It's going to happen. That's that age group. We need to do something as an industry to give her a solution to allow her to still have the interaction that she needs, okay, in today's society, and give her a way to do that. We need to give her a solution to do it in a non-distractive way so it doesn't cause an accident on the highway, on the roads, at the intersections, but yet allow this information flow to happen that is so prevalent throughout our society today.
So if you, as a parent, would you be interested in a product which monitors her driving, either through some insurance or product that could be put onto something like OnStar, which you could pay for, and you will find out how fast she's driving, what she's doing, whether she's doing, or a camera that's put in that you can monitor? Would you buy something like that?
I don't really think so. Not me personally, right? I mean, I know my kids now
It's always the other parents' kids that are bad.
Yeah, no.
Typical response, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like I need to monitor her, right? I don't
Just
think
want to keep her safe.
That's smart. Yeah, I want to keep her safe. I want solutions out there that are going to keep her as safe as possible. I mean, me monitoring her is, not the solution. I don't think. Now, on the insurance side, absolutely. I think that some great innovations going on about being able to understand driver behavior at an individual driver level, so that you can adjust insurance rates and whatnot. Absolutely, I think that's great.
Any questions from the audience? I think there's there isn't a microphone, but I could repeat anything you said for the record books. Yes, could you identify yourself and shout out your question and keep it very brief?
Paul, with the Intune network, are there statistics yet about people killed in accidents with distracted driving?
Paul asks, are there statistics about people being killed with distracted driving? Gosh, I wish I was a panelist here. I would answer that question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they've been keeping statistics for a number of years, and about 20% of crashes, 20% of fatal crashes are attributed to distraction, although not all of that is technological distraction. Technological distraction is a fairly small part of that, because distraction has been with us for a long, long time. In fact, there's a 1979 study that we refer to all the time, and in that 1979 study, they came up with the same figure. 20% of crashes were caused due to driver inattention. There weren't cell phones in 1979. Drivers were distracting themselves with something else.
Okay. Yeah, in fact, there's two types of studies. There's studies that are done in a laboratory, and they're simulations, and they try to distract usually college students that are subjects. I personally don't think there's a lot of value in that. And then there's studies which are actually put a camera in real cars and track people around, and that produces, to me, real-life data. In fact, the Virginia Tech study, it was kind of funny in one sense that there was one driver who had so many accidents and near accidents, I think they had to throw her out of the study because it was skewing the results, correct? Yes. But the research does show, and when you think of distraction, obviously, there's the kids screaming in the back, it's putting your makeup on or shaving, there's people do weird things in cars. Go ahead.
So just to add to that is that according to the government's data, 90% of crashes involve driver error of some kind, and that's why we're so high on a lot of the driver assist systems, because we think it can help reduce that number. But just to give a context to the portion of crashes that involve inattention of some kind, is that still is a very small number compared to the number of lives that could be saved. Just if everybody buckled up, I think we could save 5,000 to 7,000 lives a year. And so we like to stress that still, with the car, with advanced as it is today, the most important safety feature in a car still is the driver.
That's a great point. And when you get down to that 20%, it's a small percentage of the 20% that has to do with driving. And I think actually, my guess is that the distracted driving from text messaging is actually gone down because the public education committees are starting to work, which is a good thing. So, well, there are technologies which allow email to be read to you, and there's a lot of solutions that come out with all these things. To me, the important thing is we don't start borrowing solutions in favor of one solution, because there's very innovative people coming out with some really innovative solutions, because we don't want to see people killed or hurt. Any other questions? Yes, Richard Dougherty, the famous Richard Dougherty, the Envisioneering Group patent holder, recognized by the federal government as one of the most innovative people in the country.
Thank you, Gary, and you're on top of this panel. You can answer and lead them to great places. Are there any initiatives going on that would reward a driver for attentiveness and for purchasing driver-focusing technologies, lane changes, things that Gary had mentioned as such, instead of presuming always driver distraction for people to become better drivers through technology? Are there any initiatives for this, any investigations or studies going on?
Well, definitely insurers are looking at those kinds of things. I mean, a lot of insurers are messing around with what they call use-based insurance. It was mentioned a couple of times where the way that drivers drive, the time that drivers drive, are being taken into consideration to adjust the rates that they pay for insurance. There are also insurers that offer discounts for certain advanced driver training programs that are offered to young drivers. And a number of insurers, based on our findings that these driver assistance systems are reducing crashes, are also adjusting insurance rates accordingly. So at least from the insurance side of things, the business is trying to reflect what they understand works in terms of reducing crash risk.
Well, I learned from Telogis today, who is partnering with GM OnStar, that they have a software application. I'm not describing it correctly, I'm sorry, but basically working with fleet managers, you can get a tremendous amount of information, and if you actually reward the top 10 drivers for various behaviors that you define, it becomes quite a competition to get on that top 10 list. So it doesn't have to be exactly monetary, sometimes it's just recognition. It's also almost game-based. So, any other questions? I see one in the back, right there.
As cars are getting connected and coming online, we saw that the internet and mobile is a lot of ads as we got online. So as we have these platforms, to see where we're at, to see the kind of services, to see what we're interested in, are we going to see more ads being served in the car through these apps and services? And if so, how do we prevent from being distracted by?
So the question is, will there be more advertising on apps which will distract us? Anyone want to take a swing at that one?
There are going to be more ads.
On Pandora, at least.
Well, I mean, that's our business model. I mean, our business model, we had 76.2 million people in the last 30 days listen to Pandora, and a lot of them are listening in the car. So we have to monetize that, and the only way to monetize that in our world is to serve ads to those people. Now, we've made a commitment internally that we won't have a physical ad. There won't be. It's all going to be all over voice. It's not going to be any pictures. There's not going to be anything. No call to action. So we are trying to follow the guidelines. We don't want anybody distracted, but. There's been an ad. There's been 17 minutes of ads on AM/FM radio since day one. So us adding 2 minutes of commercials on a Pandora station, is not much.
Was the word distracting or annoying?
It depends on how you look at it.
It's annoying, isn't it? I mean, advertising is what has supported old-fashioned radio for years and years and years, and a lot of people choose to listen to radio stations that offer less advertising, and a lot of people like myself, subscribe to satellite radio because of the lower amount of advertising.
Right. You can pay from Pandora. That was a softball for you.
You can pay for Pandora, and Pandora One account, and you won't have to listen to your ads, right?
Yes, Marty. Please identify yourself.
Does heads-up displays, do they work? And if so, can they be made less expensive so they become ubiquitous like a backup camera?
Wow, who wants to talk about, briefly, the history of heads-up displays? All right, go ahead.
Well, I'll just start and say that really our objective is trying to keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel. And so that we believe that the steering wheel controls, the heads-up displays, and the voice commands are a system that can help you do what you need to do, want to do, but also keep your eyes on the road. And that was actually part of the Virginia Tech naturalistic study, is that they found that the biggest risks were when people were looking down and texting. And so that's also keeping your eyes on the road. And so that we think that does have a lot of promise. Now, we've started to look further at the idea of augmented reality on the screen so that you can see where the turn is ahead of you. And that's something that we're going to have to work with, because there are concerns about adding even more technology like that in. And it may be distracting to some people, but very helpful to others.
Okay, we have, I'm sorry, Bob Fields, member of my executive board, one of my bosses in the room. We have no time. I am fair. Any one-sentence follow-up comments? Yes.
I have one sentence, and I just want to also give a shout-out to CEA for us.
Okay, wait. We have some more time. The conference king has... I saw the shot clock going down to 14 seconds. I want to take the three-pointer. Go ahead.
I'll finish my point, is that I think that technology is a solution, and that there's going to keep being waves of technology solutions. And I really wanted to give a shout out to CEA, not just for hosting this this event each year, but also for its Innovative Safety campaign, where they're really trying to draw together all of the innovators and really try an education campaign to get more people engaged in using these products.
Well, thank you for coming here. Mr. Fields.
Thank you, Gary. Bob Fields, MyTech Electronics. We've been in the automotive aftermarket for a very long time. And part of the thing that rallied aftermarket manufacturers was the fact that we didn't have access to the automobiles. There was no, even something as simple for history, back a radio delete option. You couldn't even buy a car without a radio. So moving forward, as this technology continues to change very quickly, you know, what the general public sees, and certainly what the aftermarket